Hello, everyone. Welcome to Uncovering Hidden Healing. I'm your host, Arletha Lizana, and I'm so thrilled and excited to have you join us today for this new live interview series. So each Sunday, we'll bring you insights and experts in natural and traditional medicine, focusing on Africa and the African diaspora. So, African diaspora natural and traditional medicine holds a rich legacy that has been nurtured and passed down through generations. These healing practices are not only rooted in profound knowledge of natural remedies, but also in the deep cultural and spiritual traditions that have sustained communities for centuries. By tapping into this ancient wisdom, we can address modern health challenges holistically, incorporating mind, body, and spirit. So, this series is more than just a collection of interviews. It's an exploration of a vibrant heritage of healing that can empower individuals and communities. Through our discussions, we aim to uncover the hidden gems of traditional medicine that offer powerful natural solutions for health and well being. So, this series is in support of the African and African Diaspora Natural and Traditional Medicine Certificate Program, a collaborative effort between Sable Women Inc., Morehouse School of Medicine, and Prometra International. So, grab your notepad and get ready to learn and ask questions, and we're going to go ahead and dive in. So today we have the honor of speaking with Ajisha Faye Awonini, also known as Stephen Jones. He's been a
You got to
practicing
throw that one in there.
a EFOP priest for over 20 years. The former D1 basketball player and graduate of the University of Georgia. It says go dogs, but okay.
Go dogs. Yeah, go dogs. Come
Yeah,
on.
go dogs. Okay. Was a leader and member of the Ile Ori Temple in Atlanta, Georgia. In 2022, he founded IFA 360 and the Ogbegueyan International Temple, IFA Temple, based in Miami. When he's not teaching and providing private consultations on the mat, you'll find him running his educational consulting firm and training school principals across the southeastern United States and Caribbean. Ajisha Faye is the proud godson of Fayo Coyote Fanini, the Ogbongbon of Eden Eleke Ifa Temple in Osogbo, Nigeria. So, welcome, Ajisha Faye. It's such a pleasure to have you join us today. So, today's topic is bridging culture and medicine. So, Ifa healing systems and contemporary practice. It's an area that holds great significance in natural and traditional medicine practices. So, let's start. You can tell us more about yourself, but also kind of like what drew you to the study of African and African diaspora natural and traditional medicine, and specifically what drew you to IFA.
Wow. Okay. So first of all, thank you for having me, Arletha, Dr. Lizana. The work you do over the years and have done over the years has always been impactful on many of us, on myself, my family, my children. My first trip to Africa was with you, Ghana. She took
Right,
me to Ghana, my
right,
first trip.
yes.
So you also have played a huge role in just exposing me to traditions. So I want to thank you, and the work you're continuing to do on this stage is absolutely profound, and yeah, it just has to be acknowledged. So thank you for all your hard work and dedication to the traditional ways, and that's what you've done as long as I've known you, for years. So yes, and thank you for having me too. I don't take it for granted. So I I wouldn't say, I mean, I got my start in being drawn to African traditional religions. I would have to say my family, even though we were raised Christian, but we weren't like staunch Christian and all that. My mom was always like, and my dad, like, just have an open mind. And they would, just ask us different things. And my mom always, and my dad always said, have an open mind. So with that being said, my cousin, Stephen Allwood, Connecticut met, we were learning about what do you call it, about our history. And so my uncle, Dr. Allwood, who actually used to work at Morehouse School of Medicine, in the community service department, Harris Building, whatever.
Yeah, community health, yes.
Yeah, yeah. And so he said, go read this Malcolm X book. And we were like, yo, let's read, we were voraciously reading it. That was probably about the second book I ever read in my life. I ain't gonna lie. I ain't read a lot of it.
No, it's a good book though. So
Yeah, it was a
okay.
good book.
Yeah.
It hooked me. And then we were like, okay, Islam. Okay. So we was like, let's find Islam. I was like, no, that's not, doesn't really resonate. Then we were like, all right, So maybe it's Rasta, but the point was that it told us that there was something deeper than just what we had on the surface and that we were exposed to. And then my cousin, Kanata Komet, Stephen Allwood, he said, "Hey man, do you know about African traditions?" I said, "African? No, what's that?" He said, "Man, you have to think about it. What did we do before Islam and before Christianity?" And our minds just went, it totally blew open.
Blown.
And so we said, let's explore. And we started hearing Dr. Finch, who also worked at Morehouse School of Medicine from,
Yes, one of my mentors. Yes.
yeah. So he like started telling us things, and we found a flyer for this Ifa temple in Atlanta, Georgia called Ileori. And so we went, and the first time we went into the temple that day, they were doing the ceremony for Ogun, and Ogun is the warrior Orisha divinity. And they were like, oh, we were like, what is this? And so once we got a taste of that, man, it was so beautiful. It was so profound. It was impactful. And it was things that resonated with our spirit. From that point moving forward, we knew that African spirituality was our path and there was no turning back.
That's right. That's right. Awesome. Okay. So, so what are some of the key principles and practices that you think differentiate African and African diaspora traditional medicine from other forms of traditional medicine? So, what's so unique about Africa and African diaspora practices?
Yeah, I think, not even think, but just from being like, so I've been initiated as a Babalawo, an Ifa priest, for over 23 years. I've been in this tradition of Ifa for what, 27 years. So I've seen a lot here and also on the continent. And I think the biggest thing is like understanding that it's bigger than just like spirituality. It's like, I think you put it best, Arletha, where it bridges culture and it doesn't isolate us from our families. It, in fact, people look at us weird if we're not embracing and pulling in our family more just to be a good family member. Not just, oh, practice Ifa, do this, do what we do. No, because the tenets of traditional African religions or cultures is family, elders, ancestors, children. If you're not respecting your elders, you can't say you're practicing a traditional African religion or culture. You just can't. If you're not raising your child on the path of respect, you're not doing anything. If you're not treating people in a very gentle way, you are absolutely not practicing our tradition. And so seeing the way it's practiced over there, it is creates this strong fabric of culture that allows healing to take place. Because in the culture of, and let me back up for 1 second. So the Ifa tradition is based on the way the Yoruba people, as well as other West Africans, saw the universe. So they interacted with the nature, with streams, with rivers, with stars, with forests, with herbs, and talked to them, and nature talked back, and they learned the secret healing powers of nature. Period. But in that, they developed a system of culture. They developed a system of healing. They developed a system of continuity that kept us strong. And so that's what our West African um, ancestors practiced. It's very similar throughout. So, and when I say Ifa, I'm really talking about not necessarily the religion, but more so the culture of our West African ancestors, primarily the Yoruba people, but it also expands throughout West Africa. So in that tradition and in that healing, you have systems that are set up to speak to the divine through the Ifa oracle, through Ifa readings, where the priests and priestesses would speak and get information from the universe and how it relates to how we should live our life. They also created systems of healing with herbs and roots and barks and all. I mean, if I told you other stuff that goes into our medicines, you'd be like, "What in the world is that?" It
Right.
is. It's amazing. But some of the differences that we've kept and held on to as African Americans, we've held on to family because it was only our family structure that allowed us to get through, our Holocaust, which was enslavement. It was only through the knowledge of herbs that allowed us to heal ourselves when we had no access to any other medicines but the herbs, but the roots. Our great grandmothers knew this stuff. They knew it. And so we were able to hold on to these things, and we knew that there was something deeper. Even when we had to get into Christianity, you
Mm,
know, we in America they said no drums because they know what the drums would do to rebel. So what
that's
did we
right.
do? We start
Yep, that's right.
hand boning, all that, playing all the stuff we did.
Mhm.
So we infuse all those things that is done in on the African continent to form our own healing systems. And now it's beautiful to know that we're able to reconnect right back to Nigeria, right back to Benin, to Togo, to Ghana, and drink from a clear spring of our traditions and our culture.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. I had so many things to say, like, yes, that. I'm like, yes, all of those things. So great. Okay. So let's dive deeper into your specialty area. So just give us an overview of IFA and its applications in natural and traditional medicine.
Okay. So, like I started to mention, Ifa is really the umbrella. Ifa is the umbrella of the traditional practices of the Yoruba people in present day Nigeria, Benin, Togo. And so Ifa is a way that takes all the information that we say that come from the universe, that come from Olodumare, which is the name of the creator. And they take them and put it in a very organized manner so that we can access the wisdom of the ancestors, elders, and the universe. So, on one hand, it's an actual oracle system where we take divination instruments and we do readings and we find out what Ifa, the oracle system, has to say about someone's current situation. So, for example, if a woman, and this is very, very common, if there's a woman who is struggling to conceive or to hold a child, they will go to the Babalawo or Ianifa, those are the words for Ifa priest, and they will do the or consult Ifa, the oracle, and Ifa will prescribe a remedy for that woman. And it will be consisting of herbs, other type of natural medicines that physically heal the body and prepare the womb, mentally ritual done for the spirit, and it involves the community to add power to this woman's journey of giving birth. So they'll take certain medicines, they'll do certain rituals, they'll talk to certain elders, and Ifa has prescribed that. And then what ends up happening is the woman is now able to hold the baby, conceive a baby, and give birth. I've seen this happen several times. And so that is one way we use Ifa when we talk about what is Ifa as the oracle healing system. Ifa is also a collection of beautiful poems. I mean, beautiful poems
That's
that,
right.
oh my God, like there's 256 what we call Odu, ODU. And each Odu is a sign of Ifa. Just like in the astrological sense, like I'm a Libra, best sign, right? You
Yep.
know, we're so balanced. And
Libras.
if we're Gemini, y'all be like,
Geminis.
so there's 12 signs, but Ifa, there's 256. And so each one of those Ifa signs, Odu, has specific information about life. And so whatever sign or Odu shows up for you, that's the information we use for healing. That's the sign. And all the information is inside of that great big pot of life called
Yeah.
an Odu. And we use those things that Ifa is teaching us to use in life. So Ifa is an oracle system. It's a collection of beautifully preserved knowledge. Another thing it is again it preserves our culture. Within each of those 256 Odus, it tells the stories of the Orisha, who are the divinities. Beautiful, funny stories about the divinities when they came to Earth and they struggled with being on the Earth. They struggled with infidelity. They struggled with cheating. They with stealing. With and also like how they found balance. So if the divinities, the Orisha could find balance, we can find balance as human beings. It
Yes.
also inside of these Odus, it tells us the stories of lineages. So for example, Arletha, there may be a story inside of one of these old dudes that tells the story of the lineage of which she comes from, and it's told in like a rapping way. So when
Yeah.
they start singing and rapping, they're like, "Oh, Arletha was a
Yeah.
great actor. She was the
Yeah.
one." who had
That's
many
not what.
children, healed people, and did it. And so it's preserved so that our information never got lost because it was the priest's job to be a griot and to remember 256 verses of poems, of raps, to be able to recite, to tell the story of the people, the villages, the towns, and families, and healing, knowledge of herbs. It's absolutely vast. It's infinite. No one priest knows it all. If they say they do, they're
Yeah,
lying,
that's right.
so it's a beautiful
Mhm.
thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. And I always say, like, for me, Ifa is like science. And
Mm.
then, if we get into the 256 and binary code and all of that, so we can go there maybe another time. But I always say, if anybody asks me about Ifa, I say it's science as well. So, culture, which is a part of culture, of course. So, yeah. So, I mean, give us a couple of your stories, your favorite Ifa stories, or maybe a poem, or, just tell us a little bit.
You want me to
Hey,
rap?
whatever you got.
Yeah.
Whatever you got over there. Like,
I'm
you know.
old school. I'll make you with some Curtis Blow. You don't want to hear that.
Yeah, right. Which
Um,
is definitely Oriki, but we'll get into that as well. A little bit.
yeah. So, there's a lot of everything is a story. Ifa speaks in parables, speaks in riddles, speaks in metaphors, analogy, and it's up to the priest and priestesses to be able to interpret the stories, the Odu of the signs of Ifa. And it's a way that allows us to fact check. So if someone is telling you like, yo, like, oh, if I was telling you this, they're like, okay, well, we'll recite the story. If you can't recite the story, it's like, well, how do we know what you're saying is really right? But I think it's important. One of the reasons that my wife and I started a platform called E5 360, which is a platform where people can actually go eventually and learn basic information about IFA, because we have to have our stories and our knowledge accessible to us without having to search
Absolutely.
and decipher through all the stuff that's on the internet and just be like, no, this is a reputable source. Not saying we know everything. We're just like, let's just leave some basic stuff, for generations. And so I think a lot of times we understand the Christian stories, we understand the Islam stories, and shoot, a lot of us now understand the Hindu stories through yoga,
Mhm.
and,
Mhm.
and they're all dope. I mean, indigenous people are brilliant, are geniuses everywhere. They're all connected to the source. So nothing against that, but it's just that, but we as African people, we have those stories too. And so I think some of the main stories is just like understanding what did our ancestors say about creation?
Very
Like,
good.
what did they say? Like, what did my father's lineage, did my DNA 99.3 match of the Igbo people from Nigeria?
Mhm. Yeah.
So my ancestors remembered this stuff, and I was practicing this before I even did my DNA, knowing that I was connected to my spirit was drawn to West Africa, to Nigeria. Come to find out, my father's lineage. And so one of the things, I like to tell people is like, what do our ancestors say about creation? And there's many stories, many stories. But
I know.
in a nutshell, Ifa teaches that when we were in heaven before we came to earth, we were in the community of the ancestors. And we got the call and said, all right, it's time to go. We're like, oh, shoot, we're about to go to earth. All right. So we went to this primordial place where we chose our Ori. Ori means head. We chose our Ori, Obatala, who is the divinity of creation, the one who goes to sleep wearing white cloth, who wakes up wearing white cloth, which means that he's the peaceful one. He's the one that can create out of nothingness, create human beings. He created our beautiful Oris, our heads, our body from earth, from dust, and created it. And he said, all right, well, he put all of our Ori, our head, on the table, and said, all right, we knew as human beings before we go, we had to choose our head. But what was inside of those heads that was on the table made from clay was our destiny. And so we went and we said, let me get that one. Nah, I'm gonna get that one. I want a big head because I'm gonna be successful. Well, I don't need all that baggage when I go to earth. I'm gonna get a small one. So we all chose, according to Ifa, our own destiny. We took our Ori and we went to Olodumare, the palace of the creator, and Oromila, who was the prophet of Ifa, the high priest of Ifa. They now did the reading to see what we would need when we go to Earth. And so we went before Olodumare and Oromila and said, hey, this is what I chose. And Olodumare and all the divinities, they said, okay, they didn't choose for us. We chose for ourselves.
Mhm.
And Olodumare just put a stamp and said, okay. They did the Ifa reading. They consulted the oracle. And they said, before you go, do this ritual, do that ritual. And then, hey, Shango, the divinity of strategy and lightning and thunder,
That's right.
go with Ajishafe or Arletha. Hey, you, Oshun, they're going to need you on Earth. Go with your child to Earth. And so you get our divinities assigned to us, our destiny that we chose. So that means we have the responsibility on Earth. And then we went and we touched our head on the tree of forgetfulness before we went down to the earth. So we touched it. We got inside into this watery abyss. It started rocking. Our mother, we could hear our mother singing and, all these things. We were warm. Then all of a sudden, the water broke. A light came in. And all of a sudden, instead of being in this beautiful, warm, watery place, we're now in this world, in this earth. And we're like, yo, where are we? Then people are holding us, grabbing us, and the light. And then through this process, they said that we forgot what our destiny was. And so on the third day, our elders and the priests would take us, and when we get to earth and figure out who we are, where do we come from, what is our destiny, what side of our lineage do we come from, what is our names, they find out everything on that third day. And then after that third day, everybody in the community knows who this child is, where they come from, what's their destiny, what path to keep them on. So now we were born inside of a community that guides us and molds us so that we can fulfill our destiny. And then it's our job on earth to continue to learn through Ifa divination, through ritual, and for the knowledge of our elders who were there when we were born to teach us and keep us on our track, on our life. So that's just one of the many creation stories of Ifa. But the big takeaway is that we chose. We're not sitting around waiting for some, God in the sky to save us. No, if I says, you chose, so now you act accordingly.
Yeah, yeah, that's so awesome. Thank you for that story. It
Mhm.
does has so much meaning and so many things that we can talk about. One thing that immediately came to mind, I also say we try to choose who our parents are. And so just kind of like throughout my life, just that concept of I chose, my
Yeah,
mother. So then it also kind of speaks to making sure that I honor her,
yeah,
because I chose her, right?
right.
And how my children, they chose me, and so I have a responsibility, right? So I like that concept that we have choice. So yeah, thank you for that. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Can you talk a little bit about like some of the common misconceptions about African and African diaspora, natural and traditional medicine in general, and then any common misconceptions about IFA?
sure. I think the biggest misconception is that it's a religion. Um, Ifa and our traditions of West Africa and Central Africa, all over, they're not. It's not a religion. It because the concept of religion is somewhat foreign to us. It was only after we in West Africa came in contact with people from foreign lands. First, notably, were people from the Arab world, and they brought a foreign practice to our lands. So we were like, oh, okay, so all right, we start to define more and more. But over here, it's not a religion; it is a way of life because there's nothing religious about learning respect, how to greet elders, how to greet children, how children respect, like how do we live, how do we get, what are the rules of getting married, what are the cultural traditions of choosing a partner, what are, so there's so many things of that. Now there's a strong, obviously, spiritual undergirding of our tradition and our culture. Nothing is done without invoking spirit, but it's not a per se a, because I could take you all to Nigeria tomorrow and we would spend so much time greeting elders properly because greetings take forever.
Yeah.
Oh, I greet you for standing. I greet you for sitting. I greet you for being 1 month older than me. I greet you for walking your dog. Like it's all about respect, respect, respect. You know, so I could take you to Nigeria and we'll spend so much time being immersed in culture that you will forget that we were there on like a religious so-called pilgrimage.
Right.
But I think that's the biggest misconception. And I think that's why I love it for my children because it gives our children meaning, it gives them purpose, it gives them the moral compass on how to treat everyone inside of a community.
Mhm.
So I also think another misconception is that it's I mean you hear this all the time like it's satanic worship or it's
Mhm.
this dark thing. Are
Right.
there people who do inside of Ifa dark work? 100% sure.
But
But
of course, look, and dark work in Christianity and everything else as well. So
exactly. Thank you. So
yes,
it's like, yeah, you have humans are humans, and human gonna be doing some really good stuff and some really bad stuff. So yeah, but for the most part, of course, it was passed down to us through Europeans during enslavement that it's bad, like voodoo is bad, and what we learned in Ghana, even when your daughter was on a trip when we went to Ghana, we
yeah,
learned when we were in the Ewe region of Ghana, I heard him say voodoo. I said, "What's voodoo?" I said, "What does voodoo mean?" He said, "What you mean? It means like the divinity or
yeah,
I was like, "What?" I was like, for all the kids, I was like, "Listen to what he said." So
yeah,
even the word voodoo is like over here has this negative connotation, but
yeah. Hollywood took that and ran with it.
it's
Yeah,
just so it's not dark. And I think even even for my own family and my journey, when I first got into Ifa, of course, even my Nigerian brother-in-law's family, they thought they too were thinking I was doing some dark magic and stuff. But then once they saw the way I treated my elders and my children, and they saw my children, I never forget this one time, my one of my sons, or two of my sons, they were young, and the way you greet people in Yoruba culture is you like men, we get down in like a push-up position in front of someone who's older than us to show respect. And so my brother-in-law, who's Nigerian, right next to the Yoruba people, he's from Edo State. I said, yo, go greet Uncle Joe. And we went to his house in Maryland, and they walked up in Maryland, and they instinctively got on the ground, and because they're used to greeting elders, and he
yeah,
was like, ah, he started screaming. He started shaming his own family. It was like, they call me Steve. Steve's family, Ajisha Faye's family knows more culture, Nigerian culture, than you all do. And so they started bragging and taking us around.
that's
So that's what Ifa does. It teaches us that. But that misconception, once my family members saw that it was not about like cutting chickens in the background and drinking
yeah,
blood, like all that craziness, and saw that it really came through my children as it
that's
relates to
right.
culture and respect. That is one of the biggest things that really showed even my family to respect what we do. We had a family reunion last night. First thing they do, they say Ashe and let's pour libations to the ancestors, and you know what I mean. So it's even seeping into my own family of the
That's
traditional
right.
practices.
Yeah, yeah, yo, thank you for that. And actually, that reminded me of something, and you can probably elaborate on it a little bit more. But also, it reminded me of the importance that Ifa emphasizes the importance of having good character or Iwa Pele. It was like, and that kind of coincides with that as a cultural thing as well. But talk a little bit more about this concept of character and how important it is.
That's right. Ifa even teaches on that in one of the many 256 stories. There's wisdom of Ifa that was passed down through Ifa, and it said that there can be, let's say, 200 like Ifa priests who are supposed to be, priests. Out of those 200 priests, there may be about 20 who are like really knowledgeable because you have to be knowledgeable, you have to study, right, to be a knowledgeable priest. But it says that out of those 20 who have knowledge, who are Ifa priests, there may only be 2 to 3 that actually have Iwakbele, which is good character,
Mhm.
Iwarere, which is gentle character. So even though you are of, the cloth or whatever, or of the priesthood, Ifa even teaches that, nah, only a few are going to have good character. And it's the people with good character that is going to be able to guide people, to lead people, because people follow those who are actually of good character. it's good character is something that, like, they may even say you may go to an Ifa priest for to do some spiritual work, and you may, get all these messages from Ifa, the oracle, and this, that, and the third. You do all your rituals and you do this, and then you say, but Ifa said it was gonna make me rich. Ifa said I was gonna find a husband. Ifa said blah 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 blah, and they did everything else was doing the spiritual side. But when we come back and examine what they was really doing, people are out here being mean to people,
That's
gossiping,
right. That's right.
backbiting. So all that
Yeah.
spiritual work you invested in and you did, it bears no fruit because of your character. So if I teaches, like, I mean, I can't wait for people to come with us to Nigeria. You'll see nothing can be done without character. And so if you don't have it, your E5 will not work. I'll just be honest with you. It just
That's
won't
right.
work. Your character.
That's right. Yep. No, that's right. That's right. Something my mom taught me, even, at a young age, definitely cultural, definitely, parental guidance and community guidance and all of the things. So even today, she'll say, like, I'll say, oh, something happens. She'll say, don't gloat. Like, she'll still today, as big as that age and I am, as old as I am, she will
That's
still
right.
let me know, like, you have to keep your, that ego down. You have to have good character. So
That's
yeah,
right.
thank you for that.
Just add one
Also,
thing to that. Let me just, like, the human element to Ifa, though. Again, I mentioned to it earlier, but Ifa is not about, like, there is not like this holier than thou um, ethic to Ifa in the culture, because it's like all the stories of the Orisha, the divinities, when they were on Earth, were about some of the foul stuff they did and using people, and it's just teaching us that we're all not it's not, we're not around striving to be this. We all, Ifa is like, nah. The point of Ifa is to put everyone back into balance.
that's right.
So Ifa knows that we're going to get out of balance. That's why we have ritual ceremonies daily, weekly, monthly, and yearly to keep us in balance. And when we're out of balance, we just say we're out of balance and we get back to being restored.
Yeah, that's absolutely so. No, I love that. So let me say, let's talk a little bit about like just integration with modern medicine. So what's the relationship between traditional medicine and modern medicine, and are there opportunities for integration and collaboration?
Great question. Very great question. Yes. I oh my God, this topic is so broad.
Mhm,
Because to be an Ifa priest, like a very knowledgeable one, then
mhm,
you have to have knowledge of herbs,
mhm,
roots, barks. Um, yeah, you have to. Like,
mhm,
you have to know the spiritual element of ceremony, but you also have to have the knowledge of, like, what can actually heal you through herbs. Because the role of the Babalawo or Ianifa, the Ifa priests, were that of healing physically. So one of the main things that people will go to the priest for, and even to this day, is to help with fertility, help with conception and birth.
mhm,
So the herbs that our ancestors know that were preserved inside of the Odus, the stories of Ifa, are countless. So we have herbs for that. We have natural remedies, herbal remedies for mental health issues. Like, I've seen this with my own eyes, people being healed, mental health, um, fertility. So it is very, very paramount of what a priest's job is. It's not just to lead ritual, it's not just to do ceremonies, but we heal from all different levels. We do ritual, we do ceremony to heal spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. And then, if I will prescribe the physical medicine that we need to be taking for our physical bodies, and then obviously character, right? So, for example, but the intersection between modern, quote unquote, modern medicine, that's debatable too,
mhm,
and um, traditional medicine as it relates to Ifa is, for example, the way a balanced Ifa priest would tell you. They may say, someone comes to them and say, hey, I'm having trouble with my um, fibroids or whatever like that. I've been in the shrine room before in Nigeria, and they'll say, okay, um, what did the doctor say? They're not
Mhm.
like, oh, you fine. They're like, what did the doctor say? I have size of an orange inside of me. Then the priest, a balanced priest would say, well, go take it out. Go to the doctor and let him surgically remove it. And then we'll start our regimen of our Ifa medicine to, get you healed.
Mhm.
So the intersection between modern medicine is like for acute situations, it's imperative that we seek Western medicine. I mean, and if it's acute and it's like we got to go, you got to go. But if there has to be a balance, there has to be a balance. There's also, for example, I knew somebody whose child was having seizures all the time, like weekly. It started getting worse and worse. We went to Nigeria. We described what was going on with our godfathers over there, are the priests, and they were like, "Oh yeah, that's no big deal." They made 3 different medicines. We took it back to America, gave it to him. He hadn't had a seizure since.
Mhm.
So it's like physically, like what modern medicine can do. We have all of these remedies because obviously modern medicine was derived from all the indigenous people anyway. So
Yes, yes.
so you have to balance it. You have to balance it, but we have both.
Right, right. And I would even say, like, modern medicine now, you're starting to see where, the spiritual component and the mind component are being integrated more, the integrative medicine,
That's right.
into modern medicine. So you even see information about the mind gut connection,
Yes.
and, some people may be dealing with depression or other mental health issues, and it has a lot to do, with what they're eating and, the healthiness of their guts. So, it's just really interesting now that it's kind of coming around. Even like some integrative medicine specialists saying you should try yoga for certain things, or
Yeah,
you need our meditation is huge.
that's right.
So we'll hopefully be interviewing someone that's going to talk more about
Mhm.
meditation. But I like to see that even modern medicine is kind of incorporating some of these things. Now I
Yeah,
don't see whole so where they're incorporating African and African diaspora,
right.
knowledge per se yet, but maybe that's something that will be coming in the future. So, just like what do you see if we're talking about the future of African and African diaspora natural and traditional medicine? What would the future look like to you? Oh,
Um,
you still there? Okay.
yeah, sorry
Mhm.
about that. Hit the wrong button.
That's okay. No.
Yeah, so the future of are you talking about the integration
Just
of
all of it. Like, so what's gonna happen next? In African and African diaspora, natural and traditional medicine. Where can we go with this?
yeah, I think it's limitless, honestly. I think people will begin to recognize the need for a holistic approach, the need for not just medicine where we put it in our bodies and may have but we're not dealing with the spiritual aspect of it too. And I think um the more of the type of work that you're doing, I mean, Arlita, you're at Morehouse School of
Mhm,
Medicine, and
mhm.
you have a reach for people who are just in traditional medicines, and you have doctors, you know what I mean, who are actually cutting people open. Like
That's right.
the work you're doing, I think you're doing the work more than any of us, with you're bridging the gap. You're bridging the gap. I
Mhm.
think I think what's next is like some of the work we're doing too is like our trips to Nigeria when we take
Mhm.
our E5 360 trips.
Yeah.
Even if someone comes visit me at the temple in Miami, like if we're about to do spiritual work, like we do a herb walk first. We walk through the neighborhoods. We go pick herbs, and we talk about this herb is good for this. This is for this, and the herbs are
Yeah, we
growing.
did that in Cuba. Remember, we were walking around
We
looking
were,
at
we
earth.
were
Like,
nerding out,
this
right?
is this is yeah, yeah.
And we were betting on, no, this is South Thistle. No, it's not. This is
That's
dandelion.
right. Yeah.
So
I think I won that one,
I
by the
think I,
way,
I,
just
I
for
was
the
right.
record.
I won.
Yeah.
but
No.
but no, that's where it takes place because when people are exposed, like for example, we have a trip March 1st to Nigeria, and part of the trip is going to be let's sit down and talk to the traditional healers about herbs, and we're going to do herbal walks almost daily, and we're going to learn what these herbs are, and then some people who are trained, like your audience who are trained on herbs, through your programming, just doctors, whatever, they'll see like, oh, they can do all the empirical research studies that need to be done, which I'm a fan of. And then they start to see like, okay. And then when people see traditional healers work, that wow, they're singing, they're chanting, they're drumming, that some people may fall into trance. Like
Mhm.
they're like, oh, and then the people come out of that ceremony with a different mindset, and now they're more fertile to even make decisions about their health that might include, going under the knife or doing, Western medicine and doing like it does something to them. And I think the more people can see that and experience that, the more people will be open to it. But I think the work you're doing, the work that I'm doing in terms of taking people, exposing is the future. And we have to have it because I have so many people coming to me who just want to do EFI work. I'm like, no, no, no. Go to the doctor. Like
Yeah.
you got to go to the doctor too,
Yeah.
man. And not only the doctor, go get a therapist, man. Like,
Mhm.
you know what I mean? There's people
Absolutely.
who are really trained who can
That's
walk you through this. You know what I mean? So
right.
I think more of us who are like getting in contact with both sides will bring a whole new paradigm of
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to open it up, start opening it to questions. So, if guys in the audience, if you have any questions, kind of let us know, and we'll ask Adi Shefe those questions. But while we're waiting for questions, I really kind of want you to talk, kind of more about IFA. What you just said though reminded me again of something. So even when you say go to a therapist, go to the doctor or whatever, I think there's also a way. I think some people are afraid, because of racism or just because of the US and other, areas, their health systems. I think they're
Yeah,
afraid. But I think there's always also a way you can check the validity of or that if that physician or that therapist is good for you with EFOP,
it's a
right?
great, that's a great. I never thought of it like that.
Yeah, so I was like, we can also, I think you should go, but I think that's where a lot of people are afraid because we kind of know, sometimes that, we do know of tons of great physicians, tons of
Sure,
great therapists. They're out there. So I don't want to kind of paint the picture that they're not out there. They are, and they are working within the system that they're working in, but also there are ways to kind of, find out if that particular physician, resonates with what your needs are as well.
sure. No, absolutely. I mean, our prayers when we do ceremony in Ifa, a lot of our prayers are always about it's always about opening the road. So we may do a reading, an Ifa reading, and then once you get an Ifa reading, we always do what's called an Eba. Eba is a ritual ceremony done afterwards that takes about an hour, right?
Mhm.
And so our prayers during the ceremony is like for obviously miraculous healing, but a lot of our prayers are like, please just reveal the road and the path that this client should be walking on. Reveal the right people that they need to come into their life so that they can, whatever it is, that they can get healing or the right therapist or the right doctor or, the right path to know should I, you know what I mean? Just like what to do. Should I move?
Mhm.
Like we're not saying
Mhm.
that EFI will just heal everything, but we just pray for the path to be open because ultimately we chose our or we in our destiny in heaven. So we the EFI work is just to open up the path for the right people to come to us so we could walk on that road and interact with our destiny. So yeah, like we pray for good therapists to come. We pray for good doctors to come. And then if the client says, I'm not sure about this one, like we have the oracle system, the divination system, to actually ask Ifa, the universe, what
Mhm.
is this person best for my path, best for my destiny? And
Right.
then it will confirm or deny what people are feeling about even choosing this particular therapist or doctor. So yeah, I like the fact that you brought that up because we do bring that, we do that just to
Yeah.
verify,
Yeah.
to verify. Yep.
Okay, good, good. Okay, so I have two questions. I don't know if they're quick or not, but one, what advice would you give to students and practitioners who are interested in studying and practicing African and African diaspora natural and traditional medicine? So, what advice would you give?
Yeah, I was once that we all were once that
First? Yeah.
in the beginning stages. I would say a couple things is very important. You should always be, if it doesn't feel right, listen to your intuition is not right.
Mhm.
Right?
That's right.
There's a lot of great practitioners out here. Say Kualaja in New York, Baba Shola in Atlanta. I can go on, I can go on and on, and I don't want to leave anybody out. Oshutoki, I
Yeah.
don't want to. I render Ilari, I don't want. But there's also a lot of stuff out here that's not it. And
Mhm.
if it doesn't feel right, it's not right. And one of the ways that you know if it's not right, besides your intuition and your gut, is there should be community involved, and there should
Mhm.
be some sort of account system of accountability. And if there's not a system of accountability with that priest, then I just wouldn't. Like, for example, with myself, like I go to Nigeria all the time. I have like multiple like elders in my tradition who you like if I do some work for you and you don't like it, man, Baba Jishafe did some shady stuff. You can call or go to Nigeria and talk to all of my elders over there and tell them what happened, and they would get me. I have to answer to them. So there's accountability on my end. So if you don't see a lineage of elders in a community of like real elders,
That's
I
right.
just would stay away from it. I would stay away
Mhm.
from it.
Mhm.
And
No.
seek, yeah, I would say that's the number one thing. And don't believe everything you read on the internet.
Yeah.
Is wild out here, y'all, which is why we started
Yeah.
E5 360, because where we want to just make this place where you can find stuff. Not saying, you have to do work with us or go on our trips or anything, but at least we want to produce content that you guys can learn from. So,
Mm.
um, yeah, I would say those are the
Yeah.
main things. That's the biggest thing I would say on your journey. And have
Okay.
fun. It's fun.
Yes, right. It is fun. So I want to, kind of make sure we emphasize that as
Mhm.
well. Maybe it's just super fun to me because I'm a learning, type. I always want to
Yeah,
learn. My family
exactly.
calls me student laureate because any kind of school, I'm trying to get it. I'm trying to
That's
learn
right.
it. So
Love
yeah,
it.
and it makes it fun for me. But
Yeah.
we have comment and a question. So and Zinga says, Baba Ajishafe, you helped me hold Micah in during pregnancy using Ifa, and I'm forever grateful.
Mhm.
So thank you for that. And then also C. Bennett says, hello, Dr. Aletha and Baba Ajishafe. Can you clarify what type of condition would yield the use of modern medicine? I know hens have side effects. Things have side effects as well, but medicines are notorious for the dangerous side. So
Yeah.
I know herbs have side effects as well, but also medicines are also notorious. So what type of condition would yield the use of modern medicine?
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that question, because that is
Mhm.
such an important question. All the questions are important, but as it relates to um, bridging that gap, so like for example, like I gave the example of like if something can be quickly remedied with a surgery, do the
Mhm.
surgery, like get healing. Unfortunately, I have seen people. I mean, it hurts my heart, but I've seen people die
Mhm.
because they
Mhm.
refused to seek a blending of Western medicine and traditional medicine, and they only wanted to do not even traditional Ifa medicine, but just like herbal stuff and all type of stuff, and died of cancer. You know, and so
Mhm.
I would say like very acute situations. Acute meaning, I just want to floss. I know a big word.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle. I'm on a medical platform. Let me act like I know some stuff. But like acute, like really serious conditions where it's like, yo, like you have stage 1 or 2 cancer, you can go get your prostate hooked up. You'll be all right.
Mhm.
You can
Mhm.
get something removed. Like a perfect example, I had a client in Miami came to me um like 3 months ago, and she was like really, oh my God, mentally. So this is the intersection. And
Mhm.
she was like, Baba G, can I just need to see what Ifa says. So we did Ifa work, you know, and even financially, I was like, don't worry about money. Let's just get to the heart of this. And so Ifa prescribed some things, but more than anything, because Ifa heals on many levels, she said she felt so much better about making a decision to get one of her breasts removed,
Mhm.
because Ifa assured her that she's going to have victory. And then here's some other things she should be doing ritually and ceremonially to bolster her. And sure enough, she couldn't stop saying thank you because she had the confidence to do it. So in that situation, I would never advise a client if they have cancer like in the breast and they can easily remove it before it spreads, go do
Mhm.
it. Now let's get on our E5 medicine
Mhm.
and do it like that. So I would say things like that that are acute, do both. Do both. Don't be
Mhm.
afraid. Don't be afraid. Because our
Mhm.
ancestors and Arletha, it was like being in your circles way back in the day when I was learning in your circles, like being exposed to all the scholars you had me exposed to, like, yeah, like there's evidence of our ancestors, ancient Kemet, doing surgery,
Mhm.
brain surgery and
That's right.
stitching up with certain type of ants and
Mhm.
like
That's
we were doing surgeries back then.
exactly all the things. Exactly. Totally agree. Thank you for that. Let's see. So we have another question. It says faith is a powerful healing force. But how
Mhm.
do you ensure that we're not victims of confirmation bias, meaning seeing the healing result that we want instead of the actual result?
Okay, I mean,
Yeah.
I feel
So
like
how do you look at faith? I guess,
yeah, I get it, I
that's
get
the
it.
whole thing of faith. But go ahead.
No, no, that's an interesting question. Yes, I think a balanced approach is always IFA is all about balance. IFA is all about. Let me tell you, if it ain't practical, it's not an IFA. It ain't no like, ooh, no. If it's not practical, IFA be like, that's stupid. Why are you doing that?
Why you do that?
Yeah,
Exactly.
like IFA is very practical. In fact, sometimes we go to Africa, African Americans, us in the diaspora, we want to see more like, ooh.
Yeah, we want to see the magic, and it'll be basic. Like, oh, that's all
They'll
we
be over
doing.
there, they be like, all right, we're done. We're like, but what do you mean we're done?
That's it. Exactly.
They're like, yeah, it's done. So we're very balanced. IFA is very practical. And faith, I think you gotta like ritual and ceremony has to wake up our healing force of faith. It has to wake it up.
Mhm. Mm.
Then you become fertile ground for all of the healing. But
Yes.
like I said, be practical. If there's something like, okay, blood pressure, and I took these herbs IFA told me to take, and I did the ceremony ritual, I'm good now. No, you still go check your blood
Yeah.
pressure.
Yeah.
And if it's not working, because there's so many stories in E5 that talks about clients who will go to, they've gone to like 5 or 6 E5 priests and the work didn't work. And it was finally they went to one particular priest with the one particular remedy that worked for them. So even in that story, E5 is talking about test it. And if it's not working, then you got to keep going. And so
That's right.
like my son, I love him, 18 years old. He called me, he's like, Dad, can I get a reading? I was like, boy, when you ever ask for a reading? I was like, oh, you must like a girl. You trying to do something fine and try to.
That's right.
So, and part of his Odu in this Odu is just talking about using so many different type of our Ifa medicines, like physical
That's right.
medicines, like that we create and keep using them because all the because it's not there aren't side effects of the E5 medicine. So it's telling him to use different kind of medicines until that one really
Right.
resonates with his spirit and he starts to see these results. That's what his Odu said. So E5 is all about vetting, being empirical in our studies to make sure it works and not being naive and like really test stuff. If it ain't working, it's okay. We'll be the first one to say, oh, this ain't work. Let's try something else. But thank you for
Yeah.
that question.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. I think it also speaks to a couple of things. So, like, faith in terms of, having positive thoughts and having
Yeah,
positive energy. So, there is even science that says that if you try to stay more on the positive side of things, it does help with your healing.
for
So,
sure.
it's like not stay on the positive side when you see things are not getting better, though. You know what I mean? So, yes, you should think good thoughts, you're getting better, and all of those things, but also like you said, be practical, so you have to follow up. If something's not
Yes.
working, you have to use something else and continue, right? So I
That's
agree with
right.
that. Yeah, thank you. So
Right.
anything else you'd like to share? We're going to be wrapping up in a few minutes. Anything you kind of want to close out with?
Yeah, I mean, I think the work that you guys are doing of bringing people back in an environment that is structured, that is testable, that is connecting, I think is the route we all need to take,
Mhm.
and we need to study. We need to study. IFA is not about being lazy. IFA is about like going through courses. It's about seeking people who have knowledge, who have platforms, and really studying. It took me, oh my God, like so many years. Like I've been a priest for 23 years. I've been going back and forth to Nigeria, just sitting over there, not understanding what's going on. And so then I was like, damn, I gotta learn the language too. You know what I'm saying? It's like it takes hard work. It takes hard work. And if I even a reading for the year, every year, all of the Yoruba people get together in a place called Ile Ife, and it's the sacred birthplace of the Yoruba people. And they do an Ifa reading of the year, and they give the messages for the year for the diaspora. And one of the things that this reading of the year, Otua Oriko Otua Ogbe, one of this sign of Ifa talks about this year is about our children working and not being lazy, and that our children have to be on a path of learning, and that it's going to take time to get to where we want to get to, and that we have to seek environments that are challenging, seeking places that are reputable, seeking an environment where we can learn all the sciences, the anything you want to learn. We can't be lazy. We can't look for quick fixes. And Ifa people come and want to see magic, we got that. We got quick fixes, but Ifa is about really changing you through the journey of ceremony, through life, through good character. So continue, all the people out there who are on that path, like you got to just be disciplined with your studies, and just don't believe everything you read. Seek advice, seek critical people who are critically thinking about our healing and our journey and our cultures and traditions. And it's inevitable that you're going to find your destiny, you're going to find your path, and ultimately you're going to find your healing.
That's right. That's right. Thank you. Thank you, Atisha. That was awesome. Just thank you for coming on here and sharing your knowledge and experiences. It's been so enlightening and also fun. I like a good, fun time. So where can our viewers, find more? Where can they connect with you?
So you can connect with me at e5360.app, app, e5360.app. Right now, it's a site that will allow you to book readings, even join some of our trips to Nigeria. We have one coming up on March 1st. It'll be a dope trip. And we will be uploading. We've already done all the content, to get started. We'll be uploading it in the next couple months, and so you'll be able to learn a lot about Ifa, about our traditions, a lot of good videos on there, that we've filmed in Nigeria and Oshogbo as well as here. And you guys will, stay tuned. And we'll be doing a lot of really good, fun, educational things through that site. And eventually it'll transition to an app. So e5360.app.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. So also, I'd like to remind our audience about the African and African Diaspora Natural and Traditional Medicine Certificate Program. Like I said, it's Morehouse School of Medicine, Saba Women, and Prometra International. The next cohort starts in January with payments due in December. We do offer payment plans to make it more accessible to everyone. And also don't miss our upcoming natural medicine trip to Brazil. So excited about that. So we've gone to the Amazon previously. So we're going to Bahia, Salvador this time, December 6th to 14th. Deposits are due July 31st. So if you need more information, check out at Saba Women. And just thank you all for tuning in to Uncovering Hidden Healing, our first session. So thank you. So join us next Sunday for another exciting interview. We'll be talking to Dr. Omavi Bailey about sleep medicine, very important in natural medicine. So stay healthy and keep exploring the wonders of natural and traditional medicine. And have a great Sunday. So goodbye, everyone.
You guys, thank
All
you.
right. Bye-bye.